It's the 2nd of May today, and today I'm planting my second early potatoes, a variety called Charlotte. They're one of the most popular potatoes, lovely salad potato. And I'm going to, for the first time since creating my no-dig veg garden, I'm going to try them no-dig style. I've got my other potato patch just over the hedge there, and I'll be sowing some in there as well, as I normally do, traditional style with the sort of ridge and furrow. But I just want to try a bed, no dig, and see how they do and just kind of compare them. And I've got some main crop varieties as well, Desiree, I've got some King Edward, um, I've got a couple of others that escape my mind right now. But anyway, I'm going to try some main crops as well. So I'm going to do a couple of beds of main crop potatoes too. Just be interesting to compare the harvest per plant and things like that. So I'm going to get this bed in first, just one bed of Charlotte, and then we'll go over there and we'll put some in sort of traditional style. But just before we do anything like that, I'm just going to show you a little trick to get a few more potatoes from your seed potatoes that you buy. So basically, when you get your seed potatoes, you should have like a variety of sizes. So you'll have little ones like that, in this sort of size. They're fine, they just go in as they are. Medium sized ones like that I'd tend to leave as well. But you will get a few quite big ones like this. And what you can do, if it only had buds at one end and there was nothing else coming, I would just put it in as a whole. But when you have lots of shoots coming, you can quite simply just cut this potato in half this way. You can also cut them long ways, so one like that, that's got 3 quite strong buds coming. There's a little one there, but nothing much else down the other end. So you can cut this sort of on a slight angle, but lengthways, that way, there or there. They all tend to come. It doesn't really matter. They're pretty, they sort of come back pretty well from it. So one like that, I would quite simply just in there, a sharp knife and a clean knife. I've just cleaned this knife with isopropyl alcohol just to keep it clean. Just do a nice clean cut. And then a little trick, we had our first camp out Saturday night and we had a fire pit. So this is some nice, fresh, clean, dry wood ash, pure wood. Don't use like treated fence posts or anything like that. This is just pure wood, tree wood, not post wood. Just dip the cut end into the wood ash. It'll stick to it like that. And what this does is just helps to seal up the cut end and prevent any sort of infection and rot from getting in. And it just helps it to heal up and take a bit better. Make sure it's fully covered in it. If you do it as soon as you cut them, when it's wet, it will stick to it. So, like I say, this one, I would just cut him. There's a slightly bigger gap with that one there, so I will take him straight down on an angle like that. Don't cut all the way through to your fingers. So that will take perfectly well. And you're just getting extra potatoes for your money then. That's all there is to it. I have done it before without the wood ash and they still do perfectly fine. But what I would do, if I wasn't planting straight away and I wasn't using ash, I would do them about a week before and let them dry out just as they're chitting. Just let them dry out. These have been chitting for a few weeks. And you can just cut them and leave them to chit. When they're cutted, and the end will just dry up and kind of callus over a little bit. But this wood ash trick is a way you can do it as you're planting, and it just seals the cut end and you get a bit of a better success rate. So I've cut in half all the bigger potatoes and done the wood ash trick. Spaced them out. Now these are 18 inches apart, and I've got 21 potatoes in this bed. This is a 3.5 meter bed, by about 1.2 wide. It's a brand new bed, made it sort of end of the winter. Nothing's been planted in it at all to date. So the compost is about down to the subsoil. It's about just over 4 inches. So what I'm basically going to do is plant the seed potatoes right down as low as I can get them and sit them on the subsoil. And then that, as they pop up, I can fleece them to protect them, but I can also earth them up with some fresh compost. And the good thing with no-dig potatoes, they're supposed to be very easy to harvest. You watch the people online growing no-dig potatoes, and they just pull out lovely and clean. It looks a really good way of doing it. So if they do well, I shall dedicate a few more beds next year, I think, to putting my spuds in here. So I am having to buy compost in at the moment because I'm out of homemade. So these ones with the cuts, just put the cut end down and the shoot pointing up is all I do with those, and they seem to come just fine. Yeah, I will need to get some more compost in to earth these up with, but come the autumn I should have enough of my own. Then I should be self-sufficient, I'm hoping. Anyway, I'm collecting everything I can for compost, from straw to grass cuttings. I'm shredding hedge clippings, everything I can basically. On the edge of the bed here, it's actually a little bit shallow. I reckon it's only about 3 inches deep, but it's not a problem. Again, I'll just earth them up as they come through. It's not a problem at all. That's it, easy as that. 21 potatoes sown. I'll give these a quick water, and then we'll head over to the old potato patch and put some in the traditional way. So this is the area next to my green polytunnel, which is a bit battered from the storm. But this area over the back there, that's where I grow my main crops. I tend to put my first earlies in this little triangular, it sort of narrows down little section here. I'll just set the camera down there. I'll just show you how I put in my trenches. So I tend to start off, I use a combination of a rake and a mattock. And what I do is I go along with the rake to begin with and just pull the surface off to the side. I don't bother using a line or anything. It's not a massive area. I do get a bit of a wobble on sometimes, but I'm not too worried. I come back up this way. So we did turn this area over. A friend of mine borrowed a big rotavator from work, and it did a real good job of turning it over. That was a couple of weeks ago or so. It has slightly compacted down since then, but it's made it a lot easier. A bit of a wobble on there, but that's okay. I'll just go along with the mattock, and I'll just scrape out lower down and pull the earth up to the sides. You want to aim for about sort of 5 or 6 inches deep with this method. So in the past I'd squeeze at least probably 4 if not 5 rows in here, which I think really was a little bit too close together. This year I'm doing 3 rows with a much wider spacing, so they're about 4.5 foot apart, and I'm hoping that giving them extra space, and obviously that will give me a lot more earth to create a much bigger ridge. I'm hoping that having a few less potatoes, a few less rows, won't interfere with the actual yield that I get out of this area too much. It'd just be interesting to see. But so that's those done. So that's 3 rows. So I'm still going to put the potatoes a foot apart in the row. I won't change the spacing that way. So this is the amount I got in one bag from the garden centre. These are all the ones that I've cut. Hope you can see that there. So it actually produces a good extra few potatoes. All right, let's get these spuds in then. So I'm putting them in the rows just by eye. You have to excuse my noisy geese. By eye, about a foot apart. In the bottom of the row. That was the perfect amount, really. 1 a foot. Just got a little bit of spare space at the bottom of 1 furrow there. That was ideal, perfect amount. So I'm glad I got a few extras from doing the cutting. So I'm literally just going to rake them over now. So they're in. Weeds. They're all in. I won't bother watering these. The ground was quite moist low down. What I do as they come through, I'll earth them up, creating the furrows. Once I do my last earthing up, oh, those geese, they're desperate to get on camera. When I've finished earthing up, the final earthing up, when I mow my grass in the orchards, I sometimes use my rough cutter, but I'll use my collection mower too, and I'll put grass in the furrows. That helps to keep moisture in. Also puts a bit of goodness in as it breaks down. But it's important with potatoes when they're flowering to keep them moist. You don't want them to dry out, especially when they're flowering. I think that's sort of when the tubers are mainly doing their swelling. So keep them moist then. They say with potatoes to put them in about a month before your last frost date. So these potentially could get frosted, so I do need to be a bit careful with these. My main crops I'm not going to put in until the middle of May, so a good couple of weeks from now. And those hopefully I do get frost into early June sometimes. Lost a lot of crops last year, I think it was, or the year before, on the 6th of June, had a -6 here. So I will leave those till the middle of May, and yeah, we'll see how we go. But hopefully with the bigger furrows, so having this turned over, my friend turned it over with his tiller from work, and the wider spacing that I've done this year, I'm hoping to get bigger furrows, keep them nice and moist, bigger furrows and ridges, and I'm hoping that that will produce a bigger crop per plant. But we'll see. It'd be interesting to see. But yeah, that's first, second earlies Charlotte potatoes all planted.